Welcome everyone to this Privacy Rules, Privacy Espresso episode. Today we are going to kick out a new series of espressos where we are going to discuss about a very recent data breach case that happened in Australia, that is the Medibank. And we're going to look at it under different perspectives that are respectively the ones of the Privacy Rules Alliance team, meaning cybersecurity, legal, and crisis communication experts. Today we start under the cybersecurity perspective, and I'm pleased to be joined by Charlotte Riley, that is Director of Information Security and Technology at CSS Assure, cybersecurity company based in the UK. And I'm really thankful for having her with us. And whenever you're ready, I have some questions that I would like to make to you, Charlotte. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's great to discuss this topic with you.
Okay, so as we were saying, we are speaking about one of the most common type of cases that we are having today, that is a data breach. So my first question for you will be related to this. What can individual companies do to defend themselves from this kind of attack?
So this attack in particular, unfortunately, came from an individual who worked for the organization, who had, unbeknownst to them, as far as obviously I'm only looking at the information that's available, had their credentials stolen at a previous time to the Medibank breach occurring or the attack occurring. And so what had happened was that particular individual had privileged access within the Medibank organization, which can mean anything. It can mean you work in the IT team and therefore you have administrative access to a lot potentially, or it could be a hiring manager who has access to a data breach, but your credentials present an extra risk to the organization. And it brings us to the point really that individuals need to be trained in that first level of security for an organization, but also in their home lives, because off the clock, it doesn't stop them being targeted. So really, I think there's a level of training about just generally looking after your own personal cybersecurity hygiene. So your digital footprint, how you manage your passwords, not having the same passwords for your corporate logins as well as your personal logins. And even at home, really being conscious of where you store that really important information, private information, financial information, and making sure that you are practicing good password hygiene. And then outside of training, there's a level of protection that an organization can do that's really having just a robust security program. And that's across the board from managing and changing passwords and training, but also we're in an era where an organization of a certain size needs to invest in technical solutions that will, one, spot or monitor and detect a breach such as this, or the activity surrounding the sort of technical telltale signs that would show this was happening, and respond to it, because these things evolve so quickly. So those should be in place. And also there are solutions that can monitor for breached data in the first place. So they could have been actively monitoring for credentials that are associated with their employees, whether they're personal credentials or corporate credentials, and then get ahead of it. You see these things, other data breaches that have happened, and just get some comms out there for people to change the passwords or enforce that on the workforce. I think something that has been talked about in the media, whether it was there or whether it was in place or wasn't in place, is multi-factor authentication. In this case, if the credentials that were stolen and used to gain access, if a robust multi-factor authentication solution had been in place, there would have been that extra layer to stop those credentials working. And you have to have those in place, at the very least, on high privilege accounts or privileged accounts. I think it's really about understanding your weaknesses, having regular audits against those really great frameworks that are out there that define what you should be doing as an organization, and then implementing an appropriate security program and having the right investment behind it.
Well, there is quite a long list of things that
Yes, sorry, it wasn't a simple answer.
No, it was
not a simple problem.
Yeah. But speaking about the case a bit more specifically, so what did happen in this case, and how do you think this could have been prevented?
So, in this, as I say, in this case particularly, it's one individual, which is so unfortunate, that has allowed basically their personal password potentially, or their personal credentials maybe were aligned with their professional credentials. They were the same, and they've just been the target of potentially some social engineering. So the attacker has been looking for targets. They've targeted Medibank and said, right, I'm going to look at their employees who I think would have access here. Now I'm going to launch a social engineering attack on that person. And that could be anything. That could just be watching their social media. It could be understanding their presence on the internet and then orchestrating quite a simple social engineering attack on that person because they understand them, right? They could say, oh, I know this person buys these things online. I just need to send them an email and ask for some credentials, or a phishing email requesting credentials, or potentially found a way to send a virus, that can get access to their personal computer. There are different ways, but this person has been targeted nonetheless. And that's why I'm talking about a holistic approach to employee training and helping them secure themselves, because it helps secure the company.
That's key. And thanks a lot for sharing this, Charlotte, because prevention and training are key parts of a plan to protect your company.
Even offer employees tools and tool sets to be able to protect themselves in their home life, such as a password management tool or VPNs and extra training they can do at home, free next generation antivirus potentially that can get ahead of some of the much more advanced attacks that are coming our way. So yeah,
at least not making things too easy for
yeah, exactly.
Trying to do. No, that's definitely a point. And in general, what do you think companies can do to prepare for a cybersecurity incident and a subsequent breach?
So I work with organizations all the time on this, and something that surprises me is almost the lack of ability to respond to an incident. So I'd expect to have what I call a playbook or an incident response plan, something that defines how you respond to a cyber attack, a data breach, an incident in general, at an organizational and a technical level. And when I say technical, I don't just mean from the IT point of view. I mean, how do you respond from the legal side of things? How do you respond from data protection, governance, regulatory, PR, finance side of things? All of you think it'd be quite simple, right? Of course, we have a few people who are key players in responding to an incident. We'll get them in a room, we'll sort it out. It doesn't go down like that. And before you know it, things escalate and it's touching every part of the company. So what you need is a very defined plan with roles and responsibilities and flows of escalation and communication. You need those ancillary support mechanisms, whether they're outsourced or in-house. So the legal, the PR, the specialist technical support to be there and have those contractual vehicles with them if it's needed. And everybody needs to be trained in this thing. So you need to define it, develop it, train against it, and then you need to be doing scenario-based or role-based training, drills to make sure that it works. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, because you start moving into the complexities of outsourced IT teams and data centers, and before you know it, there are so many moving parts, and that one thing that with expediency could have discovered, mitigated, you could have responded to an attack and a data breach in a different way, could have saved all of this pain for a lot of people.
Absolutely, and thanks a lot also for sharing this. And I think that what I would like to share is that this is something we really learned when we had our last annual conference in Lisbon together, and you were with us, where we made a simulation of data breach, and it was clear that there is a need of some pre-plan to know what to do, how to react. Otherwise, it's going to be quite difficult to handle the situation. And in particular, when you have to involve different kind of expertise, and as in this case, and then you need to know who starts from where, and then when someone else jumps in, and all the rest of these.
There's insurance to consider. If you do have something that affects thousands of clients, you need to stand up a call center. A breach, standalone, potentially you can manage it and contain it, but actually all of the activity that's going on one side of the house while dealing with this breach can affect operations on another. So the company can come to a standstill, whether it's got the ability to operate or not.
Absolutely. So we are running out of our time, but thanks a lot again for your quick overview and your tips to understand, what can be done, how we can help, and how you and CSS Assure can help in this kind of situation. So I really want to thank also our listeners for being with us today, you again, and looking forward to see you all in our next Privacy Espresso series. Bye, everyone, and bye, Charlotte.
Bye. Thanks, Alessandro.